Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and thank you so much for joining me this week. So this week I'm going to be talking about AI powered pedagogy again, and the concept that I want to talk about is effectiveness versus efficiency based on the work of Peter Drucker. So if you're interested in hearing about my thoughts in terms of how we should be using AI tools, then please keep on watching. So today we're going to delve into this really important idea that's really more relevant than ever in terms of using AI educational tools in the classroom. And that comes from the work of Peter Drucker. And Peter Drucker was often called the father of modern management. Now, a direct quote from Peter Drucker is, "There is nothing so useless as doing efficiently, which should not be done at all." And that is the concept of effectiveness versus efficiency. So let me give you some examples, and I've talked about this in numerous videos beforehand. But the reason why I'm talking about this is because I was actually running a workshop on AI-powered pedagogy with a wonderful school, and I talked about this idea about how we don't really want to use AI tools to help us do things faster necessarily. We really have to look at the pedagogical practices and whether that is a good pedagogical practice to continue, and whether the AI tool serves that pedagogical practice. And during the workshop, a teacher pulled me aside and talked to me quietly, and she said, "I don't really agree. Like a lot of the things that I'm doing, it is making things a lot faster and more efficient." And I asked her, "Well, what were some of those things?" And she said, "Well, I'm creating inquiry-based lessons for my students. And in the past, that would have taken me a really long time." And she's using AI tools to come up with really creative and innovative ways. And she's not adopting the traditional sense of education and the delivery transmission method, I call it. So I actually said to her, when I say don't use AI tools to do things faster or more efficiently necessarily, it depends where you are in your journey as a teacher. If you're already adopting more transformative, progressive pedagogical practices, then by all means use AI tools to serve that purpose, to serve that higher purpose of transforming pedagogy and education. But if you're using AI tools, for example, to generate multiple choice questions or to generate more worksheets, or this is something that I'm really passionate about, not using AI to generate presentations that lead to teacher-centered lessons. I have to add a caveat there that we still want to, get some ideas for presentations and maybe use AI to generate a template, but we don't want death by PowerPoint, and we don't want that PowerPoint to drive the learning in the classroom. Maybe the PowerPoint that's been generated by AI, and there's lots of tools out there at the moment, is more inquiry based and actually allows students to drive the learning. Now, I find most of the time if we have 50 to 100 slides that we're delivering to students, that doesn't really cultivate an environment where students are allowed to drive the learning. So I'm always very hesitant and careful about how we use AI to generate presentations. But coming back to using AI to serve learning and to transform education, we don't want to use large language models to continue to deliver traditional lessons and learning experiences. We really want to be thinking about transforming and redefining what learning can look like with those AI tools. So my main point, I think, in terms of effectiveness over efficiency, efficiency is really about using AI to speed up traditional teaching methods. But what's effectiveness on the other hand? It's really about using AI to transform how learning happens and maybe even redefining it, also encouraging learner-centered play and also developing learner agency. Now, some other uses in terms of efficiency is that we shouldn't be using AI tools to generate more homework and worksheet ideas. And we have to be very careful about using AI tools to automate administrative tasks. Now, I'm not saying that we don't use AI tools, more efficiently. And what about if we reframe the problem and we talked about effectiveness and creating more time for human connection and mentoring? So while some things can be automated using AI, that will free up the time for us to develop human connections and relationships and to continue to bring in the human elements of teaching and learning. What are some effectiveness versus efficiency examples for AI tools? So I think creating AI-powered interactive learning experiences that are inquiry-based, that put the students at the center of the learning, that would be a wonderful way to use AI in terms of a more effective way. I also think using AI assisted projects where the project is perhaps framed around one of the 17 UN SDGs, and AI tools can actually help us with data analysis and research to really help students solve real world problems. So, what is the future of learning look like with new AI tools? I don't think it's about automating the past and making traditional methods faster. I don't think it's about digitizing the traditional methods of teaching and learning. It's not about just making old systems faster, but redefining how we can actually develop different systems that actually promote the human connection. So, with this idea in mind, I want you to think about what's one way that you're using an AI edtech tool in your teaching and in your planning, and ask yourself, am I using AI to do the same things better, or am I using AI to do better things? And as my dear Marcus Loy says, is it about doing things right, or is it about doing the right things? Thank you so much for joining me this week, and I hope to see you next time.